Welcome to the Infinity Loop Group podcast. I'm Riley.
I'm Krista.
We're diving into downloader versus learner today. Downloading, talking without thinking, regurgitating facts, opinions, judgments we have read or heard from someone else. It leaves no space in the conversation for inquiry. One cannot begin to learn that which one thinks one already knows. Epictetus.
Yeah, Epictetus, one of our great Stoic philosophers that we love. So that first part when I'm talking about a downloader, talking without thinking. And of course, what we mean for that is what you read more is the regurgitating is you're not really thinking for yourself. You're saying, there's no thinking, there's no newness. It's not like it's coming again from your gut as it's arising as this new awareness. That's downloading. When there's nothing new and organic awareness, it's just rattling off things we've heard or been told, right?
Yeah, I try and think of like where the nuance is different with the sense of obviously we learn information from others. And it's how we structure and use that information, in my opinion, is the difference between an independent thinker and a downloader that just regurgitates.
That's so well said.
Right? So it's we could all hear the same information, but do you use that information to construct your point of view, or do you use that information to just regurgitate as if it's
truth?
But it's beyond truth, as if it's enough as if someone has done the work for you, so you don't need to do the work for the thinking. You go, oh, someone's done this work, so this is the what we've come to, and I'm going to regurgitate that. It's okay to hash out other people's facts or great ideas, but it still needs to come from a place of streamlining it into your own thought processes. At least in my opinion, that's the difference between just someone that's following and copying someone and someone that thinks for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where the synthesizing comes in, right? Which is the intelligence. I was thinking about my necessary nemesis, who was a coach, and how he was trying to coach me to not refer to other teachers, just to say it as though it's mine. And he would put Instagram posts on that were word for word some famous saying Eckhart Tolle said, some spiritual teacher, and he would put it on as though it was his own, and which I find deplorable. So I am happy always quoting other teachers because I have enough of my own stuff. We both have enough of our own stuff that we bring to the table. And it's, again, the thinking, the synthesizing. How do we make a beautiful pie out of it?
Well, it's a beautiful balance to be able to know where the root of the thought comes from. You know, someone else might have started the thought, but then it's really beautiful when someone can go, okay, so someone started this idea here, and this is where I got, and then they go, with that information, I get to here. To me, that is like...
That's thinking.
Right, and that's, to me, the most attractive in people, is like,
that's intelligence.
You're thinking for yourself, not, well, this person said this, so it must be true. Not, right. This person said this, from my personal experience with that information, I apply it like this. You know, it's just the extra step that makes the difference between a follower and an independent thinker.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm just thinking about... this client that I had who had an Indian teacher and came into conflict when some other data points were coming at her, say it's discernment about somebody, and how that would conflict with what the Indian teacher said about that person. But they were also the kind of person that would go, oh, well, this teacher says this. So there's no questioning any even little bit of language or what would that mean. I mean, the point I'm making is there's a tendency to become very a cult follower of other people.
It's a tendency to give away your independent thinking and going, well, this teacher clearly has done the work, so everything they say must be true, instead of, in my opinion, any good teacher would want you to question everything they even teach, because the question is what allows it to truly resonate within you, right? If you can't ask the question and come up with the answer yourself, then you don't really know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, as I was hearing Byron Katie teaching a little excerpt about, pick up the socks yourself and show the children how you can pick up the socks with such lightness, and enjoy. And I thought, I'm not really going to push on that pedal with children. I'm going to teach them how to pick up the socks and make it really, really fun. So it's like, I don't follow anyone, like the cult. I certainly hope so. I certainly.
A lot of wonderful people have wonderful ideas, and you need to find which wonderful ideas work for you and which ones don't. That's what makes people beautiful, is when they are able to construct their own process.
Yeah. So the futurist Alvin Toffler wrote, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." Yep. Same kind of thing Socrates said. What Epictetus and my heroes in organizational learning have in common is knowing what's needed. We must get past our defensiveness and open ourselves up to realize our certitude and assumptions, and how we select data may not be the whole truth. If we think we already know, one cannot begin to learn. That's it. That's how, when we teach the 4 fields of conversation and dialogue, is we have to become a beginner's mind. We have to make strange, as they say, to see someone new, like you're a stranger. You have to become childlike. You have to drop what you think you already know to be able to learn. That's even the psychedelic brain. It's like you're going into a bigger view in reality. And you get that psychedelic brain by being so present. We were in the ocean yesterday having an absolute blast in the waves. And I was saying how we are getting so habituated to being present, to dropping into each, cherishing every single moment that we get together, every single moment we both get personally in our own lives, being in nature. And it's like you're dropping into a different field. And I'm saying this all ties in, because you have to be so in the present moment to drop your certitude of what you already know, or to assume what you already know in the future. You have to, that's the true self. The true self is the one that can actually think and think together and dialogue. It can only be present of what is coming up now. And then from that present moment, it can pull in what it needs to do from the past or the future, going, that's interesting what that person said before yesterday. But it's so in the present, it's not in the ego mind.
Well, and I've seen you do that so well in a conversation where maybe you don't agree with someone on something, and instead of dropping your facts or your
my tidbits, my data points, my knowledge, my expertise.
Your pushback. Instead of you creating the pushback, you go to inquiry.
Yeah.
Right? And so you go, okay, well, I have all this data that would destroy that point of view. But instead of doing that, I'm going to be present and go for inquiry to maybe I can get them to destroy their own point of view from how they think and really bring out that train of thought. And it's just a beautiful dance that I see you do, and the importance of like being present to be able to do that.
I was working with someone yesterday in a career coaching, and he was talking about sort of his manager or something. It was interesting, a woman, in tech who is not an ounce of divine feminine, is just this ball-busting, condescending, dominating, sarcastic, irritated, unskilled, untrained person. And how the sarcasm of just nailing somebody versus I said, oh, okay, well, this is how I would do it. And how you go, hey, I noticed this and this and this. Am I missing something? And he goes, well, that's how all the good leaders that I respect would talk to someone. And it's going to inquiry. It's not assuming you have all the data. And it's it's dropping into the infinity loop.
For me, what it comes down to too is even if you do have all the answers, giving them to someone isn't beneficial to them. Giving them the tools for them to come up with the answer is the real change that we create, right? And so when you don't go, well, here, I could drop all these facts and give them information that would destroy their point of view, but then they might become defensive and not really hear everything I have to say. Let's go to inquiry and really start, because even if you don't get to the result you were looking for, by starting with the questions, when then you do provide your information, they are already more open to it because they've already adjusted their brain into going to this questioning everything. Instead of going, well, no, I just said this, and now let me defend what I said, they're already questioning their own thoughts. So then when you provide those more information that would make them question it even more, they don't feel the need to defend it because it's already, we're already questioning it. So it's like...
Yeah, he was bringing up this, the hostage negotiator who wrote a book and how he would do it and how it's similar. I'm like, yeah, because they got to have the person that's holding everyone hostage feel like, some empathy. Mm-hmm. You got to get on the same team so they don't kill everybody. Right. And something you just said. Oh, and it's the same thing like when I was teaching a father about developing his children is you can, the father can be holding the line like, dude, you're not doing that. But what's much more effective is let's explore why you did that. It's creating the inquiry so that they can see what need were they trying to get met from that behavior. Right? It's a development model, switching from the I'm feeling fearful and stressed out and I got to control my kids because I got to be the disciplinarian to how do I make the spaciousness for this to arise in them and creating greater accountability in the kid.
Well, the result is, do you want your kids to only do what's right when you're around, or do you want your kids to do what's right because they know what's right? And to me, that's the difference. Is, yeah, you can create that balance, and now you're the strength, and they do everything right when you're around, but the second you're not around, all those values go out the door because they weren't built into the person, they were projected onto the person.
Yeah, and I say that's where the same way we talk about, the new evolved, this new evolution of what the divine masculine and the divine feminine is going to look like, and we're going to have new humans. It's the same thing with parenting, is what we were able to get away with teaching our kids, talking to them the way we did, is no longer going to work. It has to come from more of this development model. You're still holding the authority, but the authority is coming almost with so much more respect, true respect.
Well, the authority is coming from the divine, not from the I'm your parent. Which is the physical, right? So the authority is coming from the spiritual divine that is above all the physical, not this, well, I'm your parent, which is a very physical
Because you're in the flow of love. You're in the divine love. You're in the presence of God.
Yeah.
You're flowing in that, and you can feel that is with you.
Well,
Ooh,
I think kids respond to that loving authority because I find kids do want to follow rules. They do respond better under structure. But again, the structure needs to come from love, not desire to control or manipulate.
Yeah. And it's not that the parents don't love, it's that they're not loving well because they've lost their own way of their connection to their own joy. There's fear and pressure and stress, and they just sometimes don't know a better way. I know that was for me, which I really related to the father. When you're like, I feel like I've got to be the one that creates the structure, and it takes the fun out of it. And then it hurts the relationship and the kid.
Well, and when you're feeling out of control, you root back to usually bad habits, whether it's screaming or yelling, or, that's where the spanking was relied upon so much in older times, because to me, that is a visual demonstration of you've lost control of the situation, right? As soon as a parent has to spank a child, they have already lost. The child has won now. The child is now in control. Because you have to dominate physically, you've lost the battle.
And I would say that's also a fruit, Riley, of parents not thinking for themselves, but listening to the experts. That says this is what you should do, and this is what the Bible says, and this is, it's all sad.
Yeah.
It's all sad. Contrast the dinner party of downloaders with a table full of participants who dialogue and think together. The downloaders come to persuade another with the best argument or pat each other on the back in group think. That's what I was talking about in another podcast about, people building their tribe around just that we're all on the right side, and thank God we're evolved, and so educated. The dialoguers come to deeply listen, inquire, connect, and be aware from a humility that knows they don't know everything, and their smug certitude just isn't all that interesting to them anymore. They want to be challenged on their biases, limited experiences, and even how they've been enculturated to think and behave. The dialoguers think together. The downloaders fall into group think. This is where the infinity loop is my constant reminder of how I want to be in the world. We stay in connection to another, to build a bridge if possible, and to help the other learn as well. What do we have to teach and learn from each other as we sit in the infinity loop? We give each other the second look, respect, to see into a realm the downloader will never see. I'm all for speech and debate in school, but what we need are classes on skilled dialogue where one learns how to listen in an open-hearted way. That's what we're teaching youth now. Even those of us who coach, counsel, and mentor fall into advice giving. We have a certitude about what we think someone should do. But what if we're wrong? What if we ignore a key piece of data that makes all our expertise what trips us up? In that situation, the outcome will be skewed from what our experience and expertise biased us toward. It felt so good to be the expert, we missed out on how good it would feel to stay in connection. And that even means that connection to the field, connection to what is this person teaching me? What is this person sharpening me, that I'm coaching them to even question things I've thought or taught, right? What's emerging in this moment? That's being so connected to the present moment. There's a surrender to the unknowable, the great mystery that interrupts our plans and knows what we don't. It takes skill, humility, and presence to ride this fine line. Downloading is defined as conversation where we take turns speaking and then waiting for our turn to talk. It's non-reflective. This leads to where we deliberate, weigh likes and dislikes, which devolves into debate. In dialogue, we suspend what we think, relax our grip, and stay open, which leads us to reflect on what we've done but don't notice. You know, if we got that present that's what we do with the infinity couple, that we both have our own clients that we coach, but teaching them how to have these dialogic skills when they have conflict, of getting that present and creating the container of where they're able to move past their point of view, suspend their point of view, to hear another person, to get so still that it's, what do I not know that I was, and what do I not know that I was assuming that I knew? Right? This leads us to explore our thinking through inquiry, which moves us to generative dialogue, where we invent unprecedented possibilities and new insights. It's a collective flow from which many new ideas are free to emerge. I'll explain it further later in this book. So that's the same thing you do in a company, you do in a marriage, in any kind of relationship with your kid. You sit there and you go, oh, okay, well, maybe there is another way to help you learn. Maybe there's another way that we can resolve how we set these boundaries in this home. Dialogue is the grid I experience the world through, and weighs heavily as to whether or not I want to spend all that much time with someone. Does this person want to impress me with what they know? Or is he or she someone with whom we can both learn and grow? I'm tired of downloading. I know I have my biases. It's impossible not to, but I want to connect so deeply with inquiry and awareness that I'm able to think together with someone where both of us will never be the same. And to do that, I must admit I don't already know.
Very beautiful. Yeah, I think when you talked about that end part, I just think about how often we will intentionally listen to podcasters or people that we know we don't agree with, but we know it's the importance of questioning our thought processes and questioning our assumptions. And it is really beautiful how the more exposure we have to this, the more we can appreciate where someone's coming from, even if we don't agree with them. Understanding how they got there, to me, is the ultimate, at least first base of understanding why someone believes what they believe.
It's so beautiful what you just said, Riley. Almost makes me cry, because what you're saying is listening to these people is your spiritual practice. And it's because you're learning to love and grow in your capacity to have empathy and not go all ooey gooey. So you are holding your very sharp thinking skills and critical thinking and looking at them with love and acceptance for their journey, their belief system. I mean, it's true. It's making us more loving, empathetic, tolerant in a good way.
Well, I think it's so much a society right now is set up to where either if you don't agree with someone, you either call them stupid or racist or, some derogatory term to dismiss their point of view. And instead, I would like to be able to myself at least go, well, no, I understand why they get there. And I just think that this is the part that they are making a bunch of assumptions and are unwilling to see other perspectives, because if they were able to see other perspectives here, they would get to a different end. And to me, that is more of a healthy understanding of that means you're actually listening to someone's full thought process and understanding where they might get something different. And again, it's not even about changing their point of view, but maybe even revalidating your own point of view. It's like, no, yes, this is someone that agrees something different, but this is more validating why I believe what I believe. And again, you just need to be open when someone from a different point of view is talking, and have the empathy of we all have our own journey. Mm-hmm. And again, this is a collective journey, not an individual journey. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing we forget when we think about knowledge and knowing things. So quickly we are to go, well, I know this, so I don't need to take in any more information on that.
I have had this, I've been doing this for a good many years, and I'm thinking back way even in 2014, times when I was really aware, when I was sitting with or before then, sitting with somebody, and ideas that would come to my mind, I actually would sit to the person across from me and I said, I think you may have just sent that to me. Mm-hmm. Because it's the inner mind. Dan Siegel talks about that. And it's like this field of knowledge, like you said, again, it's so collective. It doesn't belong to me. It's not my brilliant idea. It's something that was emerging between us, right? In the field. You can't even own it as your own idea. It's like, that's a really good principle. Instead of going, oh my God, I got to be the one that brings the good idea, versus that identity drops, that competitiveness drops, and it's for the whole good. And you can almost go, I'm coming with this idea, but I don't know if it's coming from my brain or if Susie next to me just sent me this idea, right?
Well, it's the collective consciousness.
It's the collective consciousness. It's the thinking together.
So which relationships do you think stimulate true learning? And I guess to me, it's usually the ones that question whatever you believe, not the ones that are validating what you believe. And the reason why I believe that that's what's connected to true learning is because when someone questions your point of view and you truly hear them out, and you then stick with your point of view, that is only strengthening your point of view. Not, if you really can give the other side the best argument possible and you still agree with your, original side, well, now it's only strengthens your point of view, not created cracks in the infrastructure.
Yeah, obviously you create enormous learning for me. I'm just reflecting on how much you have changed and where, and me too, but I'm just seeing the beauty where when you were following a certain narrative and then you're so good at argument and debate that you could win an argument. And you could convince someone of why all the facts of why your point of view was right. Some of the topics I'm referring to that you've now gone, whoa, I'm starting to see this differently now. And that I was maybe, but I see your energy, like there was an intensity that was more dominating back then. And now it's so much more spacious. You could have very strong points of view, but there's a spaciousness and a gentleness to it.
Yeah, I have strong points of view, but even in my strong points of view, I'm not married to any of my points of view.
It's so exciting that we're like changing our points of view
all the time.
So quickly, yeah.
Well, because we're lucky enough to live in an age where we're able to get more and more information. Yeah. And if you aren't changing your point of view with more information, what are you doing? If more information is changing the perspective, then your point of view should change.
Yeah, that would be alarming when it doesn't, right?
And
To me, that's a red
and
flag.
sadly, and that's most people, I would say, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we're such at a time with science where things are changing fast. I'm thinking again about health and longevity and nutrition and exercise, where points of view are like, wow, that's new data.
So, what new habits could you form? What will you do as a leader to encourage thinking together?
It's the inquiry piece.
Yeah,
it's the modeling.
that's kinda
It's
exactly
you
what I
drop
thought.
into connection where you are not trying to catch anybody, not trying to be the teacher. You drop into being so present and enjoying being in the presence of this other human being as this dynamic encounter, and you become self-aware and aware of the whole field, and then you create the inquiry comes from there.
When I think it naturally slows down the entire conversation, which will naturally allow both people to be more present. When you go, especially when you talk about a heated conversation or like a heated topic that really brings out the emotions in people, I think if we can practice in that first where you go, okay, I have something to push back on, instead of pushing back that first time, if we can just have the practice of going to a question first. Every time, go to dive deeper, because what that will do is make them think about what they're really saying more thoroughly, make you be more present to really actually hear what they're saying, and then make them be more open to what you have to push back from, because again, you've started with a question, not a, let me tell you all the reasons why I don't agree with you. You went, okay, maybe you are making some points and creating that space. And to me, that is the habit that we can really create that can change our lives and other people's lives. Because I notice, so funny, the chapter is called Respect, and I would say people respect your point of view more when they feel like you've heard their point of view. And one of the best ways of acknowledging that you've listened to someone's point of view is to have a genuine question about something they said, and so our next chapter is called Respect. So important to respect ourselves and respect others. Intellectual boundaries. Being respected for my views, we give the safety by honoring and protecting, and not being passively in conclusion with anyone who would compromise or violate those boundaries. James Finley.
Oh, collusion. Yeah, being in collusion with anyone. Yeah, we're colluding with people when we don't speak up.
I mean,
what you permit, you promote.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I love that phrase, and especially when people, it's so funny how when you encourage someone to give boundaries and they're hesitant to it, they feel like it's being rude, right, to have the boundaries. But once you kind of phrase it on what you permit, what you promote, it really, I see it in people's eyes. They go, oh, yeah, now it's no longer their fault for how they're treating you. You are encouraging them to treat you this poorly by not creating those healthy boundaries. It's.
Yeah. And from a career standpoint, you think that it's good to just be submissive and to take it, but actually it hurts your career terribly to not be able to come back.
Well, people don't respect you if they can walk over you, and you want to.
Or you're the scapegoat,
right?
Yeah.
Or you want to move forward in your company. Don't be a pushover. Being, it's people don't respect that.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if you permit that at all, and you don't get the last word to say, hey, Susie, we need to talk offline to get some clarity about your expectations on that. When they've sort of, kind of dumped everything on you in a meeting, it's like if you don't set that, then that is just coming. They're coming more for you. You gotta frustrate them of when they want to disrespect your intellectual boundaries, any kind of boundaries that you have, and that we want to not be in collusion with that when it's being done to us or other people. That's the leadership. You speak up to raise the conversation toward by inquiry, and we'll maybe read the chapter, but like say this is happening in a meeting and you see how someone is being mistreated, and when you ask the questions that basically cause someone that is respectful of seeing somebody again and asking, well, tell me, you said that there must have been a reason that you had a point of view. And I think I want to give you another opportunity to say that a different way if you felt like that wasn't as clear as you want to be. It's a way of giving someone respect that raises up that sets a boundary. It starts setting a boundary of, oh no, this is how we talk to each other. The definitions I work with for respect aren't how someone has to earn it. They always say, well, they have to earn my respect. I'm not going to be respectful to them because they need to earn it. And
the people that say that don't respect themselves. I say that because to not respect others is the most disrespectful thing you can do to yourself.
Tell me more about that.
Well, to me, I think of the Muhammad Ali quote where he talks about if someone is nice to me but rude to a server, I don't trust them because they're only being nice to me because I can do something for them. And to me, that is kind of what that is when you don't respect people that can't do anything for you, you don't respect yourself. I don't, because then you are living in a world of transactional respect. And if that means that if you don't do something right, you're not going to respect yourself. And if you're right. And so this goes.
You're that hard on yourself.
Right. So.
Well, and you're not behaving in a way that that you should respect yourself on a certain, you're not respecting yourself because you're not living according to love. You're working, you're living accord to your aversion, this dismissive thing without giving someone the second look. And I know that there's a language, there's a place to say, wow, I really respect that. But we're working with both of the definitions, right? I like to try to say, I admire that in that person because I want to take out of my language anything where I don't respect someone. I want to say I don't admire that in them, but I will take the second look to any person, no matter how they behave. I will look again and give the contemplative view of holding their humanity, their divinity. They deserve that level of respect.
And I guess I've, as you say that, I think I've used I don't respect that point of view. And I think it's not that I don't respect the person, it's that they're sharing me where their thought process came from, and I don't, you know what I mean? It's I think they're drinking from a poisonous well. So it's I don't respect the conclusion they came to because I believe that, they're...
That's really good.
It's not that I don't respect that person, it's that the information they're providing, I don't respect because I see where it roots from.
Yeah, and I think I've caught myself in a good way saying, I don't respect that behavior when someone's super smart, say it's on the, a major media, but they're just snarky because they can just name call and make fun of people because they're so smart, and you could go, I don't respect that behavior. I think that's good to say, I don't respect that behavior. That's not something that I look up to and go, I love that person does that. I'm like, no, they're not in love. They're dismissing people to a level that that's not good for us. And when you say you don't respect yourself, it's because what we do to another we do to ourselves. And very often how we treat another is how we are really treating ourselves and overcompensating for, again, our lack of enoughness. Our ego is never going to be enough, and it's always going to be insecure. And so from that ego, we're going to try to feel better about ourselves. I know that, all right. Respect, to look again. Oh, sorry, I haven't even started any of this. Okay, here are some definitions of respect to consider. Unconditional positive regard, UPR. Unconditional positive regard means everyone is worthy of respect and capable of contribution. Even when others have broken trust, they still deserve respect as human beings. Unconditional, meaning they don't have to earn it. Respect, to look again. Spect, as in spectacles, glasses we see through, to re-see one another. I think we need that definition to be able to do that. We don't dismiss one another because we respect one another. Because we're able to see each other through that lens, we hear and see what we have to say to each other. We don't have to take it as truth, but we take the second look to see and hear what they have to say. I see you and your view and hold a space for you within myself. Whew. Recognize one another's legitimacy, the opposite of judging and blaming. See people for the potential they carry with them. Treat each other as a teacher. What is it this person has to teach me that I don't already know? Looking for what is the highest and best in each person. Treat each person as a mystery I will never fully comprehend. Treat each person as part of the whole, part of us. Respect is the opposite of seeing people as objects in a mechanical world marked by a preoccupation with mechanism, prediction, and control. I try not to use the phrase, I don't respect them. I like to say, I don't admire that in them. When I say I don't respect someone, that doesn't feel right to me, knowing these definitions. I feel separate, superior, and important when I make that judgment. But I'll say they display behaviors I don't admire and I'm not aligned with. Respect is foundational to changing the world. We're going to keep revisiting this chapter over and over and over in our many years of doing this podcast.
Well, I think it will be so important when we start diving into more specifics in events going on in society, to where we go, well, where is someone not respecting someone and things like that.
And I would say that this is, when we do our consulting work and we're working with groups of people, we set the container. We set, okay, we're going to move into the, sometimes there's a talking stick. Sometimes there's we're going to do this little teaching, and then we're going to move from these 4 fields of conversation. This is how we go to inquiry. This is how we move with our ego. But we set the container of respect. If we set that as in every relationship, as we taught it with our kids and our family, with our loved ones, our partners, our businesses, if we set that would change everything. It would change all of our interactions.
Well,
our capacity to learn.
Speaking about how it's changed, which relationships have benefited from the definitions of respect? So which relationships in your life have benefited from you viewing this respect?
So when I know I can tell I'm in my ego, is I'm out of respect. And if I just get back into, take the second look, how are they my teacher? How do I give unconditional positive regard? How do I give them legitimacy to their point of view and their experience and not put myself above them? It immediately changes the interaction.
I believe this is the root of what healed our relationship, is ultimately, as a young child, I didn't have the respect I should have for you. And I mean, sadly, as the adult, I don't feel like I was given the respect as the child either, and I think ultimately where why our relationship is so strong now is because everything got stripped away and we built it on respect. I think once you can, when that is foundational, everything else is possible. And I believe that's the main reason why our relationship is so strong now, is because it ultimately got stripped down to the root of, okay, well, we respect each other. We respect the journey we've both been on, and we respect the importance of having each other in each other's lives, because we lived long enough not having each other in each other's lives.
That's the great love and great suffering. We had both. We had the suffering, but we had such great love for each other that we were willing to change. And I see this, as you're saying this, Riley, as this teaching has to be foundational for every program. The strong man, infinity health. Like, where are we not respecting ourselves and our future selves? Where are we not seeing what we deserve and doing what we need to take better care of ourselves? It's just so foundational.
What part of the definitions hits you as something you haven't thought of before, or is the most needed in your life? So I guess when you were writing this, what really, I mean, to me, the unconditional positive regard, that is amazing that I'd never heard it before, of like, no, respect is unconditionally, positively regarding someone. You view someone in the most positive way possible. Like, that should be the start. And it's so, I'm just kind of blown away that I've never heard that from anyone else but you.
Yeah, no, this I probably learned, over 16 years ago. But so it was all in our organizational development work. But it's something you need to revisit over and over again. Yeah, it's not taught. It's not taught. It's respect now is considered it's a judgment that you, in your lofty throne, can make of another human being. That's what it is now. I have so deemed you as so worthy of respect.
I'm the perpetrator of who's allowed to be respected and who's not. Well, I mean, it's so much of so much of what a politics is now, right? Is both sides are going, well, I don't respect them because of their point of views. Oh, I don't respect them because, whatever term they need to use to write off the other side. But ultimately, it all comes down to the lack of respect.
You know what? I'm thinking of some of the politicians that we like, that are candidates, and they're not playing the victim, and they don't have that kind of dismissive annoyance. They are very respectful of other people's points of view. I'm just thinking of a few in particular that we're really liking right now.
I was thinking of one I was listening to earlier this morning. Vivek was being honorable and respectful to people that were being dishonorable and disrespectful to him.
Yeah.
And to me, that is that elegance
ego.
of grace, of like, they are literally spitting in his face and he's smiling, holding the space and going, okay, I can understand why you could think that. But if you look at the bigger picture, if you listen to more of what I said, if you don't take that snippet, and it's, to me, it's just a beautiful example of good leadership in the world. Whether he gets to the end or not, I think it's a wonderful step in the right direction of seeing people, in my opinion, who are great leaders in this opportunity when they are being attacked to still be a positive influence.
Yeah, that is a great role model, and it's also it just shows a lot about him, right? It just shows a lot about him.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you all again for joining us on this journey as we end with respect. Just want to please share this with others, and we will continue on this journey of connection and communication together. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Till next time.